Today I'm going to be talking about Ginger, which is an album that was released in 2019 from Brockhampton. I've been listening to Ginger and thinking about it a lot since it came out, and I've slowly found myself coming to the conclusion that Ginger is what I consider to be a damn near perfect album. And I wouldn't just say something like that without explaining myself. So I'm going to try and talk my way through this, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. So first, let me describe the album a little bit, and then I'll move on to actually talking about it. Cool? So Brockhampton is a hip hop collective / boy band, and Ginger is Brockhampton's 5th album. It's the follow-up to their last album, Iridescence. It's 12 songs, 44 minutes, genre hip-hop or pop or whatever. It's an album that is incredibly easy to listen to and absolutely impossible to turn off. It's one of the best albums of the year for me, and definitely the best project Brockhampton have ever released, in my opinion. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Ginger really is something special, and it's something that I feel like I have to talk about because, like I said before, I feel like it's actually a damn near perfect album, and those don't come around all that often. So, yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. But my goal here is to talk about it without overthinking it. I wouldn't want to overthink it. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of quickly talk about the things that make this album perfect to me. But I'm going to talk about that stuff in a sort of non-linear way because that's sort of the best way of doing it. So in no particular order, I'll talk about things like the performances, the production, the narrative, the way the album related to me, and probably a few other things. But we'll cross those bridges as we come to them. But anyways, I think we'll start with production, which I know very little about. But I will say I've always liked the production on Brockhampton albums. Each song usually has a unique musical texture that completely complements the mood and makeup of the lyrics and narrative. That's always been something they've done really well, and Ginger takes that idea to the next level. I don't really have much more to say about the production here, but I will say that I think Brockhampton's producers, Romil Jabari and Kiko, have really outdone themselves. The way this project sounds is pretty incredible. Next, I'll move on to performances. This is a high point, and describing it is actually really simple. Kevin Abstract kills it, as usual. Don McLennan kills it, as usual. Joba sounds great. Bareface sounds great. And honestly, this is a little bit surprising to me, but Matt Champion and Merlin have never sounded better. And I'm not just saying that. But for what it's worth, the performances all around are pretty equally amazing. Even the guest performances from Deb Never, Ryan Beatty, Slow Tie, and Victor Roberts, they're all really, really good. This project sounds really, really good. And now I'll talk about lyrics. This is connected to performances, obviously, but it's worth mentioning as an aside. And I think everyone gave a pretty impressive showing here. Kevin Abstract always has some pretty snappy lines. Don McLennan continues his usual cleverness. Joba and Bareface keep it more low-key, but both definitely have some surprising moments. Matt Champion is always incredibly impressive lyrically, and Merlin has some of the most memorable lines on the entire album. But in a sense, every member has a moment to shine on this project, and that's awesome. And it's also worth mentioning narrative, another high point and also connected to lyrics. But anyways, I would go so far as to say that Ginger is the first narrative-heavy album from Brockhampton. Every member is telling their own stories here, obviously, but woven inside of the verses and songs are a few sort of obvious narrative threads that slowly contribute to this greater narrative about growth and change in a very complicated world. It's all very relatable stuff, and in some ways, the narrative that they've formed is actually pretty impressive, and it's definitely more than you would expect from Brockhampton. So, yeah, it's pretty great. But there's also something very interesting about the way Ginger feels. Like, throughout the album, there isn't just one vibe. And each song sort of has its own set of mixed feelings to go along with it. Like, for example, Ginger has happy moments and it has sad moments. It has summery moments and it has wintry moments. It has moments that feel like the final scenes in a heist movie, and it has moments that feel like falling down a set of stairs. So, like I said, I think it's a lot of mixed feelings. And I kind of feel like everyone who worked on Ginger needed it to be a sort of perfect encapsulation of where they were at the time and how they felt at the time. And all of that stuff really does come through. And that might even be too much for some people. But it always feels just right for me. And I don't know, I guess what I'm actually saying is there seems to be a lot of Brockhampton in this Brockhampton project. And that's a good thing. And from a very personal standpoint, Ginger is very much the album that I needed to hear when I heard it. Recently, I've been using music as a way of getting out of my own head, and Ginger has been something that I've come to rely on in that way. Usually, I'm not the type to go to a piece of media or art looking for escapism. That's not really how my mind works. But maybe that's changing a little bit, because even at its simplest, music can be a distraction, and distractions can be exactly what you need. So I'm grateful for the distractions, and I'm happy to be distracted by something as good as Ginger. But I think I've rambled on for long enough now and said everything I wanted to say. I'll just take a quick moment to wrap this up. So, Ginger is a really, really good album. I truly believe that. I really like the production. I really like the performances. I really like the lyrics. I really like the narrative. And I really like that I was able to connect with the album on a personal level. That's obviously really important to me. And all of this stuff, everything I've just mentioned, it all just comes together really well. It all works. So, with all that being said, yeah, I think Ginger is a damn near perfect album. And for what it's worth, I really can't recommend it enough.